And welcome and thank you for joining us tonight here on The Factor Uncensored. A major update from the White House tonight. President Trump has announced a 90-day pause on most reciprocal tariffs as trade negotiations continue. The one glaring exception being China. In fact, he's raising China's tariffs to 125%. President Trump says more than 75 countries have called U.S. representatives to negotiate a trade solution. So how will this affect families financially in this country? According to a Yale Budget Lab study report, families will have to pay about $3,800 more a year and budget for an extra $73 a week. Let's get to it tonight in Trump time. We have our Factor Uncensored guests ready to go about this. Political analyst Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld and CPA and attorney Lucy Petrie. Glad to have you both here on the Factor Uncensored. So here we go again, another pause. What does this mean?
I don't know. I don't know that anybody knows. Anybody knows what this means. I'm really concerned whether this was actually planned and was a plan all along, or if is there a method to this madness, or are we just making it up as we go? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Either way, it's concerning.
But it puts the world in a waiting pattern as we decide what we're going to do, leading the world. We are putting people on pause all around the world. And should we care about that, Dr. von Biedenfeld?
I think we should be concerned. We've consistently said that we need that certainty and stability for the markets to predict. But at the end of the day, President Trump has demonstrated that he's about upending these things, right? And so there was a certain other person who, and I know we hate these metaphors, but sort of turned over the moneylenders' tables and said, no, this is not how we're running things in this temple. And at the end of the day, this uncertainty we've discussed, of course, we don't have Dr. Brannon with us, but we've discussed the idea that this was all subterfuge for some bringing people to the table and saying, here are the tariffs, let's get these 70 other nations that are undisclosed to the negotiating table and now work with them. At the end of the day, China has been our major trading adversary. We understand the intellectual property infringements, we understand the challenges of doing business in that country, and so some people will say, arguably with a little bit more confidence in the administration than some others would give, that this has been the plan all along. But we don't know, because 90 days could move to 30 days. And so much like the certainty that we've discussed with not pushing people to the BRICS nations because those nations are unstable, we are now demonstrating that same instability.
And Lucy, while many of us were in the waiting pattern, many people around the world, a lot of people made some money on stocks that went down and then went back up.
Yes, I think the richer really got a lot richer the past few days. The people who had the money or even knew that this was about to happen had the chance to get into the market and purchase when the prices were really low and on sale, and make a whole lot of money right after. So that begs a question. Who knew about this? Who had the opportunity to buy into the market and make that money? I think maybe the insiders, but, well, it's illegal. It's insider trading, right? So that is pretty concerning to me. If
but
there
if
was
you can
a plan.
prove it, and so when you think about the NOAA and the weather forecasting and that pay-for-play subscription for your weather forecasting, the idea is maybe this is a way to get people to subscribe to Truth Social, because if you were on there at 9:37 a.m., now you got the stock tip. I mean, $174,000 a year. We've talked about this with some of our less literate congresswomen in Georgia. We've also talked about it with some other folks who are now worth tens of millions of dollars, and you say the math isn't mathing.
And of course, if this is a plan or was a plan, are there ethical and criminal questions that should be looked at down the road?
Arguably, yes, but we've seen that Article 3 is willing to defer to Article 2, and Article 1 is a little bit lacking in that TF that we've talked about. So we've stepped back from the idea of this sort of scrutiny, and we know that Congress has been guilty of insider trading for many years. Right. So if we increase that scrutiny for the president and the administration, it's going to look back on them. They don't want that. And for whether it's Justice Thomas's private jets and purchase of his mother's house or these other ethical conundrums, at the end of the day, a lot of folks are saying D.C. just has their own way of operating.
Do we have a changed country now with this different way of operating where we see there have been issues, ethical questions, and how many elected officials are behaving and enriching themselves while the country is suffering? Are we in a different country now?
I think we're losing credibility worldwide. We used to be dependable, and I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't think the U.S. is viewed the same as it was overseas and at home. And I think we are operating very carefully now. People are not going to retire this year. Small businesses are not going to start, or they're not going to invest in capital expenditures. It is definitely a new world. And
is this just good news for the next 90 days when it comes to American consumers? Or we're just waiting on the next shoe to drop?
No, assuming that there is a certainty, and I think we will see this because there is a certain popularity metric that we've seen with the president. There have been a lot of things that we saw in the first administration that were very prescient, such as stacking the Article 3 branch with favorable appointees. These are lifetime appointments that we saw in 2016. So I think this is good.
All right.